Have you ever wondered about the power of belief? Not just as a feeling, but as a force that shapes history itself. Today we are introduced to a story so incredible, so seemingly impossible. It is a tale of faith tested to its limits. Of a city defying the odds and of a collapse that still resonates through time. This is Jericho, but not just any Jericho. This is Jericho and its legendary fall, Jericho. Nestled in the Jordan Valley is a gem of the ancient world. A city with walls that reach to the sky, seemingly impenetrable. It was a place of power, of commerce, a thriving center. In a harsh land, these were not just any walls, mind you. They were designed for defense, made to withstand anything that might threaten the people within. The inhabitants were confident, secure in their fortifications. They had every reason to believe they were untouchable. But this story is not about bricks and mortar. It is about something far more powerful than stone. It is about a people, the Israelites, newly arrived after their long journey in the wilderness. Led by Joshua, Moses' successor, they carried with them not only their hopes and dreams, but also an unshakable belief in a divine promise. They were a people on a mission to reclaim the land promised to their ancestors. And on their path stood Jericho. Now conventional military wisdom dictates a siege, a brutal assault, years of attrition, to bring down such fortifications. But this was no ordinary campaign. The Israelites did not plan to attack with spears and swords, at least not in the way we would expect. Their strategy was, well, unorthodox to say the least. God, as their scriptures told it, had given Joshua instructions that seemed, well, disconcerting. March around the city once a day for 6 days straight. Just march. No swords, no siege engines, no attempts to scale the walls. Imagine the scene from the perspective of the inhabitants of Jericho. What kind of invading force simply marches around you every day and says nothing? How strange must that have been? It must have seemed like a joke to them, and yet it must have been disconcerting to learn what their plans were. And on the 7th day, the instructions changed. The march intensified 7 times around the city, and then came the most unexpected part, a unified, devastating scream. They blew their trumpets, or shofars, made from ram's horns, and shouted at the top of their lungs. Think of that sound. The piercing blast of those trumpets combined with the roar of thousands of voices. It's a sensory experience beyond our modern ears. What followed defied explanation, at least by human standards. The walls of Jericho, they didn't crumble, they didn't crack, they simply collapsed. The imposing structures that had stood for generations protecting the city came tumbling down. The Bible described this as a miracle of God, a testament to the power of faith. The Israelites, now unhindered, invaded the city. Now here's where things get interesting. The historical record, or rather, the lack thereof, is always a major challenge to this narrative. Archaeologists have indeed found walls at the site, but these structures have gone through various stages, and much debate continues to swirl around them. Some of these archaeological discoveries line up with parts of the biblical story, while others do not. So what do we make of these discrepancies? It is important to say that archaeology does not function as a way to prove the events within the Bible. So what does the evidence really tell us? Some archaeologists claim that the wall was not destroyed all at once, but over time. Others claim that the collapse was perhaps the result of an earthquake or an unknown natural cause, not divine intervention, while others insist that there is no evidence to support the walls crumbling. At the time the Bible claims, this is where the story becomes more than just a historical account. It's a story about interpreting evidence, about the interplay between faith and science, between the seen and the unseen. Whether you believe in divine intervention or prefer a more natural explanation, the power of the story itself cannot be denied. The collapse of the walls of Jericho is a symbolic story of the power of belief, of dedication to a vision, and of an impossible victory. The story tells us that it was not the force of arms that took Jericho, but the power of faith.